Hello. I was going to play a joke and do this, but now it's not funny because I didn't do it. I forgot. Be like, hello. Oh no, that's too dark. It was earlier. It was like really, yeah, like that. Hello. I suppose that's not really funny. It seemed funny when I thought of it. Okay. So nice to see you. To see you nice. I hope you're all having a good evening. Does anybody ever hear that? Like hear electricity? This light that I have hisses. And I can hear it. Anyway, that doesn't matter. I can block it out. Okay, good evening and welcome to live stream. It's nice to see you all on this very sunny Sunday evening. It's really not sunny, it's pitch black outside. I'll show you the window. There. Hello, Easy. We have Khaleesi also joining us. For those of you that are the Khaleesi fan, that are here for Khaleesi rather than Lisa, there she is. Khaleesi! You just see her bottom there, little tail and bottom. Yeah, she's seeking about what she's going to do next, how she's next going to ask me for food. After she's had her dinner, she always comes to give me a kiss afterwards and just see if I can produce any more, if the kiss will produce any more. Okay. Oh, go on then, go on to the bed. I know this makes it seem like I'm really not a serious non-duality speaker, as I'm just sat in bed, obviously in my bed clothes. That is obvious that she is a rubbish non-dual teacher. That's what it means. She's not serious. If she was serious, she would get dressed, she would look smart, and she would be proper. Today I wanted to find out some stuff about auras, so I was looking through the content, and it's like there's so much content on YouTube and on the web that it's really hard to find someone you resonate with. And it was funny because in my mind, I saw someone doing it with a really messy background, and I was like, oh, they're an animator. That was the judgment that appeared, and I was like, Lisa, that's what you always do. It's funny. So then I clicked on it and listened, but it's like I couldn't find what I was looking for really on auras. Is this all working okay? I haven't done my usual checks. Yes, it's streaming. It is working. What are we doing? We're trying to open Skype. And it's funny, I was also looking at views, it's so hard to know which one to pick. So I was also looking at views. And then I thought, oh, maybe you should pick someone with less views. Maybe that means they're more serious. How do you decipher? Because there's so much. Yes. So and it's funny how you always get what you want, because when I was scrolling through these videos, I suddenly had the thought again, oh my God, I'm so glad that I'm not more popular than I am. I know that sounds really weird, but I just energetically couldn't take it being more popular than I am. This is just the right size. It's just right. And it stayed like this for years. And I've always had that feeling I really want it just to stay that size. It's perfect. I get to express non-duality, which I really enjoy doing. I do sessions. I get enough money to support myself from it. So it's perfect. This is perfect. Yeah, I think my projection is that everything is energy, and if you're more popular, then you have more energy looking at you and more energy coming towards you. I sometimes wonder if this is why people like that are very famous become drug addicts, because it's a lot having that energy coming towards you, especially if you're really open energetically. And sometimes actors are, like performers are open energetically. I mean, like, that must be horrendous. Maybe it was a dream of mine when I was a kid. Not really, but I do remember singing in front of the mirror like, a rhinestone cowboy, boop boop, yeah da 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 da. But it must be a nightmare performing in front of thousands and thousands of people live on stage. Like, I think some people imagine that to be a good thing, but maybe it is if you're not open energetically. Not that that's a bad thing. Some people aren't, and that doesn't mean suffering, or that doesn't mean they're bad in any way. It's just their energy just doesn't feel other people's energy. But for most people that are energetically sensitive, that would be so overwhelming. It's too much. It's not meant to have famous people in our society. That's only happened over the last 100 years with like TV and radio and now the internet. Anyway, enough of my blathering. Blabber, 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 blabber. So what I normally like to do in these talks, as a lot of you will be aware, I don't think I have that many newcomers, but I always like to invite the newcomers. So if you are a newcomer, well, you're very welcome. And I tell you how and what happens. So for the first half an hour, I normally do silent sitting. Maybe do a little bit of an introduction to meditation or something, and then silent sitting. And then after that, I then do an introduction. And then at about 7 o'clock, so it's now like 6:15 French time. So at 7 o'clock French time, I open up the doors to questions. And you can either call in, my Skype address is Lisa Cairns 12, pardon me, or you can write me a message on Skype. If you want to call in, please call me and I will call you. And if you do call in, please make sure, did I say that already? Please make sure that you've got a headset with a microphone and good internet connection. Otherwise you will send the other listeners and myself a little potty. It's quite hard speaking to someone when it's like it's a little tricky. So that would be my request. So a little introduction to what non-duality is about. So, no, what meditation is about, not non-duality. Sorry, I'm a little bit dopey today. A little unfocused. So meditation, to me, is a way of, on the human level, relaxing the mind and relaxing the body and becoming more conscious of yourself. I don't see meditation as a way to becoming enlightened, because that begins to get really trippy when you begin to examine and ask the question, who am I, and who is it that would get awakened or get enlightened? So, I see meditation as something to do on the human level, but that doesn't mean don't do it. It doesn't mean like, oh, it's pointless, it's not going to lead me to non-duality. I feel like settling down the human, when the human's more at peace, then you can talk more about non-duality. So if you imagined like your parents or people that aren't into this subject at all, if you imagined them, then imagine like trying to speak with them about non-duality in their current state. Like first of all, doing meditations, doing bhajang, settling yourself down, doing breathing exercises is a way for you to open up. Like, and not be so stressed, not be so worried, not be in so much compulsive thinking. Once that happens, then the pointing to non-duality can begin to happen. That none of this is who you are. The reason that I sit at the beginning of the talks in meditation is simply because I like doing that, and it's kind of like a habit that's grown over the years. I've always done it. I just like to sit there for a period just to tune in. So we can begin. There's different meditation practices that I recommend. If you're new to meditating, then one that's quite good is the mindfulness of breathing. And this is basically counting your breath. So every time you breathe in, you count your breath all the way up to number 10. So each new breath is 1, 2, 3. I hope you can see that I'm breathing. And then when you get to 10, you start again. So 1 to 10, and then start again. And what you might realize when you're 936, that your mind has wandered quite a lot. And you're like, oh, bollocks. It's a bit high. But that's quite normal when you first start. Another thing that you could do is keep moving your attention back to consciousness, or the I am. Moving your attention back to presence. And another thing that you can do is just sit there and do nothing, and just see what the mind wants to think of and let it go on its natural path. Okay.
So we begin. Yaggy daggy daggy. The talking begins. So what is the title? Non-duality, Lisa Cairns, to stay silent in all the chaos. So I was texting with my friend today, and she said that, and I just thought it was so beautiful to stay silent in the chaos. And I thought I would speak about that. And what she was meaning in regards, like she was saying in regards to the world is going crazy at the moment. And she just feels like she has to stay silent in all the chaos. Which maybe it is going crazy. It's very unknown. I mean, firstly, is there a world out there? We have it in our imaginations that there's a world out there, but do we actually know there's a world out there? You could do a Byron Katie. Is that true? Is there a world out there? There is no world out there. The flip around. There is no world out there. So if we assume that there is a world out there and everything we read, like in the news and in society, then I would say that, yeah, society is kind of losing it. But I kind of also don't see life like that, really. I see my life more like everything that we're seeing is being produced by our brains. So everything that we're experiencing is appearing from our brains, like we can't get outside of our brains. And I'm only using the word brain because that's something we can all relate to. I mean, like we're looking through this system, that we're looking through this body which has 6 senses. If we say thinking is the 6th sense, but we could say there's like 10 senses. But let's just keep it simple and say we're looking through the world through these 6 senses. And so everything that we experience is our sense. So if we sense evil in the world, we're not actually feeling an evil out there. We're feeling an evil in us, in this body-mind mechanism. So if you pick up somebody else's energy, for example, it's all happening in your own brain. It doesn't mean that you're not picking up someone's energy, but them, their body, their energy is appearing in your perception. From consciousness's point of view, and then from the human point of view through the senses. So your senses are picking up it in a particular way. So when I say the world's going crazy, it always feels a little weird to me because I've reconditioned myself so much that it's hard for me to see this thing called world or the thing called society. I mean, I can, but it's like, what is society but your thoughts, your ideas, your reactions to it, your reading of the news. Imagine if there was no news or social media. Anyway, she was saying that she has to stay silent in it. I thought that was beautiful. It's staying silent in all the chaos. That's kind of happening now. That's happening all the time. Like whether we define it as chaos or not is dependent on the way our brains think or the way these bodies think. But there's all these different things happening. There's sights, there's sounds, there's people, there's experiences, there's energies, there's colours. There's so much happening, and staying silent in that. And what does that mean? Most people would take that as an activity. I've got to stay silent, I've got to do something. But when you really go deep into yourself, you realise that who you are is silence. Your essence is silence. It's already here. Most of the time, people are cut off from that, and they're just involved in their story of them and involved in what's happening. And then that becomes increasingly overwhelming. Hello? Yes. My audio is working. And that becomes increasingly overwhelming for people, because they forget that part of their self is in freedom now, is in stillness now. And from this place of stillness, nothing matters. Your life doesn't matter. The friends don't matter. The problems don't matter. They don't even exist. Your animals, your children, your environment, none of that exists. From the place of silence, all of that is stories in a fairyland, in a made-up reality. From the perspective of silence, like all there is what's happening. Is this watching? And this watching is in love with itself. Not as an activity, not as I love you, he loves me, she loves me. As itself. It's in love watching itself. There's nothing more that it wants than this love. And this silence, this consciousness, this watching, whatever you want to call it, the mystery, no thing, isn't separate from everything that's happening. It's the walls, it's the curtains, it's the bed, it's the pajamas, it's the window, it's my voice. It's everything that's happening. It's all that's ever wanted. And that silence is not a thing. It's not a perspective, it's not a thought, it's not a narration, it's not an idea, it's not an achievement, it's not a colour, it's not a feeling. It's no thing and all things. It's not your past, it's not your future. The silence, the consciousness is here already. It's this childlike awakeness, this awe at itself. And its age, it's without age. It's not 90 years old or 1 year old. It's timeless. Nothing matters there. Doesn't matter if you die, doesn't matter if your friends die, doesn't matter if the world implodes of
Coronation Street. You're not allowed to say it on YouTube. Coronation Street. Coronation Street. Nothing matters. There's nothing to get. It doesn't want to be successful. It doesn't want a job. It doesn't want a partner or not a partner. It doesn't want anything. Doesn't want to do something, doesn't want to not do something. It's just watching. It's just free. It doesn't need you to be psychologically better. It doesn't need you to be psychologically free. Your karmas and your psychology can distract from this, but it doesn't need that. Like, karmas and psychology are part of these bodies. It's part of what happens. Like, it's my karma and my psychology that, I sit here so comfortably in my pajamas. Like, it's part of the way that this thing has been conditioned and set up, and its belief systems. But that is karma. We all have our karma. Everybody has their karma. And this subject can improve karma, can improve your dynamics, but that's not the goal of it. The goal of it is seeing the freedom beyond your karma, beyond the world, beyond the daydream of you. So you could imagine it like this. Just let me have a bit of my Jack Daniels and Coke. That's a joke. I hate whiskey. Whiskey. Although gin is worse. Gin is terrible. Now vodka and orange. Now we're talking. Vodka and orange, I'm all right with. I'm down with. Anyway. What are we talking about? Lisa, what were you talking about? We were just about to do the Google goggles, although it's not called Google goggles anymore, I don't think. Originally, when I first started giving this analogy, because I've been teaching for so freaking long, I look like I'm only about, 40, but I'm actually like 98. I've been talking about this for over 60 years now. Anyway, originally, when I first started talking about this, in the 2010s, the beginning of 2010s, I used to use Google goggles. Like, they had these, my friend at the time had these goggles, these Google goggles, and then you put your phone in there and it created like a virtual reality, and you could be like in a you could be in like a roller coaster. It was really amazing. So you put your phone in the front pit and then you put these like goggles on your head. But now there is way more advanced things than that. There is like full virtual reality sets that you can have in your own home. Anyway, so to get to my point, if you put on a virtual reality headset, I suppose I should start telling the story about the cow, shouldn't I? Okay, here we go. For those that have listened to me for quite a few years, you might have heard this story now. You can now go and make yourself a cup of tea or go for a pee break. But for those of you new, you're going to be absolutely amazed by this incredibly delicious story about a cow and a fox. So me and my partner in Berlin, name dropping the cities here, in Berlin, how exotic, Berlin. We went to this is back when, you know, we could travel, back all those years ago when you could travel and go to different places. Now for the last like 60 years, we've all had to stay at home. Anyway, we went to this, back when we could travel, we went to this virtual reality place where you put on a backpack and a headset, and then you sort of went into this warehouse and you had to like fix this puzzle that was set in the future, and everyone was in different rooms, and it was set up so you never walked into a wall, so it was like programmed to the room. And then your partner, whoever else was in your game with you, were in different rooms, but you were all in this like collective virtual reality together, and you could all hear each other. But I was just in there with one other person, and I'm a little bit, I have vertigo and I can get dizzy very easily. And I was a little bit cautious about putting on the headset and a little bit concerned that I was going to throw up. So when I did it, I just was like trying to be really gentle. And as soon as you get in there, you had to pick an animal that you were. And I think that my partner picked a fox, which is, you know, something I would like to have picked. But unfortunately, because I got confused, I ended up the cow. A very nice cow with trotters in a spacesuit. And he was a fox that was really cool, which I would have liked to have been. And anyway, we played this game in the future. It was like we were on a spaceship and we had to fix all these puzzles. So that's it. That you could say it's a bit like that with consciousness, except consciousness is the virtual world as well. But you could say it's like consciousness has put on a virtual reality backpack and headset and is looking through that. And so for me, in my world, when I played that game, I looked through the virtual reality set and I was a cow with these hoofs. And I could only see that I was a cow when I looked in the mirror. The rest of the time it was just like hoofs, which was quite complicated when there were delicate things to do on the spaceship, but it worked. And that's exactly what life has done. And what we believe is that when we're waking up, we get so fixated on the character in the dream that we believe the character in the dream wakes up. But so when I went in there, my cow was conditioned a certain way to behave a certain way and to respond a certain way and did certain things. And when I went in there and watched through the cow, my consciousness is not affected by the cow and the cow's conditioning. My consciousness is pure. My consciousness is seeing everything. But imagine if, like, through 100 years of playing this game of pretending to be a cow, I suddenly forgot that I was Lisa watching the cow, and I suddenly began to believe that I was the cow. And then the cow, in its waking up story, believes I've got to work on myself to fix myself, but actually it's nothing to do with the cow and the cow's life in time. It's just there's been this attachment to the cow. So all the practices the cow does, that's not the point of it, because your watching is still there. Like, I'm Lisa watching the cow, like reconditioning myself as the cow doesn't affect my consciousness that's watching through this virtual reality headset. I know a lot of minds are like, yes, it does, it could do, because we're so convinced that the character is
going to arrive at something and do something to get itself enlightened. But so you can see in that virtual reality world, like Lisa is watching the cow, then she begins to get hypnotized by being the cow because she does it for so long. She begins to believe she is the cow. And then in the waking up process, the cow, the Lisa identified with the cow, the story of the cow begins to manifest as the cow looking everywhere for this and doing all these practices, because it's influenced by the consciousness that's watching, obviously. And the cow is like running around, like looking for itself, doing hum, ba 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 ba, hum, 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 smoking joint, doing incense and ding, 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 and all these sorts of things, and stretching itself. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure that will improve the cow's life and settle the cow down. Like, so the cow becomes less busy. It sort of seeks less. It searches less. At some point, grace just takes in, and then Lisa, as the watcher, remembers, oh yeah, I'm watching the cow. I'm Lisa in this other reality watching the cow. That's not quite what happens with consciousness. It's not verbal, but there is this recognition, this moving back to seeing that there has always been a watching here that is not identified with the cow. In your cases, you're not cows, you're characters. So we get into this dance of believing it's the karma of the person that's got to be fixed, and it's the person that's got to get somewhere. But who? Who are you? You're so convinced that you're the character, you keep looking in the character at the character's behavior, which is good. It's always good to clean your cage as the character. It's always a well thought out plan to make yourself more nice for your neighbors. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to consciousness. Consciousness is watching no matter what the cow does. Consciousness is free no matter what. It's just what happens when identified is it feels like the cow is conscious. It feels like it's the cow that is suffering, the cow that is having a life. Whereas there's never been a cow having a life. The cow has always been a character that's manifesting. And the cow's character is beyond the cow's control. It's a program. So when I put that on, I have this program of a cow. And then obviously Lisa in this reality affects it, but we have to then drop that analogy. So in this dream, you are programmed, and every one of you is divine. But it seems to be, it's like the programming is on spontaneous creation. So it's not like you're programmed and we know what the story is going to be. It's like we're programmed in a certain way, and then life is like, and then see what happens. So you're set up to respond in certain ways, but you're also set up to evolve. So just like algorithms, if you create an algorithm, you don't know what the outcome's going to be. You can create an algorithm that's like to draw a picture, and you give it certain things that it can do and certain possibilities, and then you give it the ability to evolve, which is what we're currently doing at the moment. And then we don't know what the outcome's going to be, and that's exactly what our lives are like. But they're not ours. So you're not guilty. You're not responsible for anything. You are not in control of your life. Like, who is in control of your life? Guilt and blame seem to be big attachments for people. Shame, pride, big attachments. There's nothing wrong with the feeling, but that's not true. You're not guilty. I'm not guilty. He's not guilty. She's not guilty. He's not right. She's not right. They're not right. There is nothing that's right or wrong or good or bad. It's simply happening, which is so radical. Because that means that if there's nobody truly guilty, like we can say, oh, I'm guilty if I crash my car into this person and I should go to prison or not go to prison, whatever. But there's nobody that's guilty, which means that everything is free. That means there's no hatred. Sometimes people ask me, what definitely changes. So my teacher, Roger and Ramesh, would say that it's blame, guilt, shame, pride. I still have those feelings, but I would say that they're very thin in comparison to what they used to be, and they move through really quickly. And I kind of feel like it's appropriate to have them in society
But one thing that I definitely don't have is hatred. Like, no, like, how can we hate something? Like, I can be like, oh, I hate it, as in a joke. Like the other day, yesterday, Khaleesi had a humongous tick that fell off her, and it was like, ugh. And me and my partner were imagining it having babies and all that, and I was like, ugh, it's disgusting. But I really don't hate, and I can get angry with people as well, like lose my temper. But it doesn't mean that I hate. I just don't feel that anymore. Like, who is to blame? Even if someone did the worst things. Who is there to blame? Who is guilty? There is only watching happening. That's all that's ever happening, is watching. And then this dance of forms and thoughts and ideas and past and future float in. But they're not real, they're not your reality. Your reality is this silence, is this stillness, is this immenseness. So sitting on the edge of the precipice. Precipice. Nice. Okay, maybe I take some questions now. If there is anybody there. Who are you speaking to, Lisa? Who? It's the wrong thing. Okay. I love you. I love you too, Isabel. Thank you. Oh, that's a cute picture. Hi, Dennis from Kentucky. Thank you so much for always put Dennis from Kentucky. It makes it stand out in my mind. Okay. Could you speak about time and non-duality? Maybe as a future topic for a Sunday talk, or now if you want. Maybe time and how it relates to non-duality. What is your sense of time like? Clock time. Past, future, eternity. For me, each day, each hour seems like an eternity, no matter what I'm doing or what's happening. There's this sense of awareness and aliveness in every ever-expanding moment. Thank you for thinking about this. Much love. Dennis from Kentucky. So, Dennis, to me, there's two different ways of perceiving time. There is the timeless, like you say now. So everything is timeless and unknown and mystery. It's a live presence that contains no time, has no time. It doesn't come from the past and it's not going to the future. It's just here, right now, alive, watching. And this is timeless. And this is always what is. It's always the timeless. And then with the perception of time in the human life, I find that
time is always changing. Time goes faster if I do less things. And I think that is because I've less to think about. Like, so if I do the same thing for a whole week, it goes really quickly in my thoughts about time because I've got no difference. So it just like all seeps into one. If I do lots of things, so if I travel to lots of different countries or do lots of things in a week, then it can seem like an eternity because I've got lots of things to remember. Like lots of things to think of that happen. So it's like to me, I suppose in the timeline, it's like time is the collection of memories, really, which isn't truly who you are. That isn't who you are. That's what we always think is us, is what we've done in the last week, that we are the person that cleaned the house today, which I did do. Or we're the person that had a fight this afternoon. But that's not actually who you are, and it's not actually true. It's not true. Who you are is this moment. And this moment is empty. Nice, thank you for your question, Dennis. Hey, Nick. Croissants and cheese. Have I told you before how much I love croissants and cheese? I love that. The French think that's disgusting, but it's something we do in England. We love it. Croissants and cheese. Hi, Bogdan. I'm so sorry, Bogdan, to not know how to pronounce your name. I really apologize to people. I just have no idea how that would sound in Czech or Russian? Ukrainian? I'm not sure what language that is. I try, Bogdan. Hello, thank you for helping. You probably don't recommend non-duality as a way of getting rid of the ego's wish to dominate the world and vice versa. What's vice versa? The ego's wish to dominate the world's wish to dominate the ego. Sometimes it can be difficult dealing with people, as in not knowing what to expect and the uncertainty about where life is headed. I've listened to many teachers, but sometimes this method can seem like an escape. It seems like I got hooked on non-duality from the first ever video I watched. Sometimes I wish I didn't know anything about spirituality. Who now knows how I would be different if I'd never heard of it? Well, thank you so much for your question, Bogda. I'm not sure actually if there's a question there. Actually, there isn't. Hello. But for your comments, if you've got a question, you can write it underneath. But if not, I would just comment on your comment, knowing that, like, whatever I say, you interpret it and you take from it whatever you want. Like, it's not like my comment is more right than your comment. Like, that's how you feel. So dealing with people can be difficult. And I'm not an expert at that. I have difficulties dealing with people. I can lose my temper. I can get frustrated with people. I'm trying to learn to communicate better with people of what I want. I can freeze. I can please. When someone scares me, I can do all those games that everybody else does with humans. Just trying to think if I try to dominate them and like an example of that, but I just can't really think of it now. Like it's part of being human, and that is complex. It is complex negotiating this world, and we're kind of in this weird time where all the old ways of being are changing, and we've got all these new ways of being. So, you know, if we lived 100 years ago, we'd have told how we were, what job we were said to be, what our role was in society. And in some ways, we've moved away from that because that's not appropriate. But at least in some ways, it was more clear about the rules, the dynamics. And now, because everything's changing, we're learning this new way at a really rapid pace, and we're learning how to live with computers and virtually. There's so much happening. And there's also another element to us, this energetic element, which is never really acknowledged. That every time you meet someone, you're not just dealing with them on the mental, verbal, physical level, you're also dealing with them on the energetic level. So when you meet like the two energies, so say if this is your body and this is your body, you have like an energy field around you or something, and then the two energies are meeting as well. Then you've got the unconscious. So I agree with you, and I think so many people out there, that dealing with people is super complex, and especially in this rapid changing world. And the best thing that you can do for that is just becoming more conscious about what your games are. And if you do that with non-duality, the benefit about it is that you can be more honest with yourself, because when you see it's not you, it doesn't really matter. So if you have like an energy that comes up as dominance, like it's not you, you're like a programmed animal. Like the tree, it's not the tree's fault if its roots grow so big it sucks all the nutrients out of the ground for all the other plants. It's not the tree's fault if it grows too tall and takes all the sunlight from the other plants. It's not the tree's fault if it breaks your patio. It's what it's programmed to do. And we as humans are like these evolving animals that have come from mammals, and most mammals social systems work on dominance and submission. Not all of them, but most have like leaders, and then everybody else is submissive and followers. So don't beat yourself up about it, man. It's about being, it's human. It's human. It's complex being human. Like everyone wants to be this perfect version of themselves, and we can't be. We are programmed with this complex system. And so what's great about non-duality is that the more that you see it's not you, the more that you can see like your traumas, your difficulties, your patterns, your dominance, and just be really honest with yourself. And then the more that you see your issues on the human level, the more what will happen in your instrument is that you won't keep repeating them. Like the habit will be to repeat them. But if you keep seeing that like you hit your head against the wall when you do certain things, then you will slowly begin to step away from it. But these are complex systems. So it's not like it's going to change like that. And there's nobody ever that's going to be the overriding figure that's right. So often in arguments or in political debates or whatever it is, we want to find out who's right and who's wrong. And it's way more complex than that. There isn't really a right or wrong in an argument. It's like two energies coming together, and there's like a chemical reaction that's like happening. And the more that we see that, the more that we can be honest. Like, so part of my process prior to waking up, I don't know if this could happen now. I think I could kill now, actually. Like, I don't say that as in like I could just go out and stab someone because I feel like it. I mean, like, if if I was being attacked, I'm sure I could kill somebody in self-defense. And I'm sure if I saw something happening to Khaleesi or my friends or something, and the only way was to kill them, or there was just this very fast reaction, I don't think I could kill out of anger or something like this, but I know I could maybe do something with self-defense. Like, yeah, I've had some psycho things that I've done before, like jumping in front of the car when Khaleesi was in front of the car, like people, it's a little cuckoo, like my dog is standing in front of the car, and then like to save her, I throw myself in front of the car. That's really a little cuckoo. And I sometimes think, like when I had some difficult situations in India before, and when I am attacked, if that's what you want to put, like, so if you've ever been attacked or anything like that, then you kind of learn your defenses. Like my defense is to attack back, In daily living, it's not actually. Like in daily living, I can like shout at people, but if somebody scares me, I often freeze. But in a really serious situation, like when I was in India and I had some difficult situation in a rickshaw with men and on the bike and stuff, like it wasn't very nice what happened, but they wanted to get me in the bushes. I actually was like, no way, and like really fought. I know I'm laughing, it was quite a long time ago. And so I think that in that way I could kill, but I don't think I could kill out of anger or premeditation or anything like that. But who knows? But before I had this shift, and this was really like such a profound like experience, was that I realized in me there was a rage which could kill. And I could see that put in the right circumstances, and I think everybody has this, like maybe not everybody, but most people, that deep down there was a rage that right circumstances, the right amount of powerlessness, the right amount of being snookered, a rage could come out that could kill or wanted to kill. But not really. I'm not saying I really wanted to kill, but like I could see that there was that potentiality there. And I could have only done that with realizing it's not me. Like, because otherwise to admit that and to get to the depth of like humanity, like that humanity's conditioning, I had to also see that I was beyond that, and that was something that's programmed in me. It wasn't something that I was doing. I wasn't really guilty of it. And that's the great thing about non-duality, is it gives you that possibility to explore all of this, to see all of these dynamics inside. I'm not saying that everybody has that now, effect that might have on people, but it's also really humbling as well, because when you see that in yourself, you're like, fuck it, I can't judge anymore. I mean, obviously we all judge on some level, but I mean like on a deeper level, I was like, how can you judge when you've seen something like that in yourself? Like you understand how everybody does something, like these terrible acts, and how everybody does little terrible acts. Like passive aggression or stealing or cheating or whatever it is that you do. It's like total forgiveness in a way. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without the deep knowing that that's not who I am. The character is not me. The character is a happening. It's a happening. And I used to have this story as well, Bogdan. I used to have non-duality from the first ever I was hooked. And I think there's something beautiful in that, in being hooked. Yes, I'm sure you use it for avoidance, because that's what the personality structure seeking energy does. It's like always wanting to be at peace, really. And so it uses anything which it thinks can make it more peaceful, whether it be heroin, sugar, non-duality, meditation. It wants to be at peace. So there's nothing wrong with that, but also I think the hooking is there's a knowing of a deep truth in that, which is really beautiful. It's not like with drugs where there is no deep truth in it, or with sugar there is no deep truth in it. There is a deep truth in non-duality. That is really beautiful. But I used to get this story. Sometimes I wish I didn't know anything about spirituality. Who knows how I would be different if I hadn't heard of it. And I used to have that story, and it's totally not true. It's just a regret thought. You're just regretting something you did in the past, which doesn't exist. So it's regret energy. And if you weren't regretting this, getting into this, you'd have got into something else and regretted that. It's just thoughts and stories that are appearing, and then there's this energy that latches onto it and believes it's true. There's nothing wrong with the appearance of it in the moment, as long as there's a knowing that that isn't true. It's when that it appears and then something holds onto it and feels like, yeah, that is my reality. That is who I am. It's not who you are. It's not your truth. It's just a feeling appearing of regret, and then your mind hooks onto a story. And I used to have that as well. Like, I was very young when I got into this. Maybe you're young as well. And all my friends, like, I just couldn't play the game that they played anymore, and see all my friends partying or doing all these things. And it was like the bubble had been popped, and sometimes I wished being able to go back and blow the bubble back up and just go out and get drunk and do meaningless things. So who are you beyond all of that? That's so beautiful. Thank you. Hey Bia, nice to hear from you. Dear Lisa, lots of love. I just wanted to say that for some time, is that us? No, you're a woman. I was really confusing. I just wanted to say for some time I haven't been able to tune into your live talk, but today I made it. Your presence brings great peace to my heart, and I'm incredibly grateful for being in my life. It's been 3.5 years now since my brother told me about you, after he met you in Tiro. And from that day I was in love with non-duality and in love with love itself. Deepest gratitude. Oh, that's your brother. Oh, nice. Oh, that's sweet. And there's your little dog. Oh, nice. Thanks, Bia. Hi, Lisa. Suppose that there is no world out there and this is all created by a brain. Isn't the brain too made of the world out there? It would seem to me that if there is no world, there is no body or brain either. But if this is true, what is being looked through? What is constructing experience? So that's a really great point, and this is where you can see that no teaching is true. That there is nothing that's true, because I tried to explain it by everything is projection of your brain. But you're right, the brain and the world are one and the same thing. So there is no world, and then there is also no brain. And consciousness isn't actually looking through this body. It's just seemingly looking through this body. It's actually looking through everything right now. That is just like mind-boggling. So it's all ideas that, like, where is your body? Like, I see a little bit of hair and then eyes. No, not eyes, hands. I don't see my eyes. I see nose now. So that's a really great point. So really there is simply everything. So in the end, if you want to come down to the simplest language there is just nothing appearing as everything and everything being nothing. Nothing and everything. You can't even really say consciousness. There is just everything conscious of itself. Like, consciousness disappears. It's mystery. It's beyond. It's so beautiful, this subject. Hi, Carola. Nice to hear from you. I really need to go to the toilet. You know, when you just can't be bothered to stand up. This is how Ramana Maharshi ended up with like curled up nails. No, I'm not comparing myself to him. I'm joking. If he didn't move all that time, where did he go toilet? And here comes the teacher in her bedclothes. This is the teaching. But teachers also go to sleep in bedclothes. We always like to have this image of others, like that they're so different from us. Like we put them on pedestal, we put them below. And then when you see them just do the normal stuff of like putting on their pajamas, brushing their teeth, having a bit of a moan or grump about something, going to the toilet, then it's like everybody just becomes the same. We're all naked underneath it. Hello Lisa, it's so lovely. Oh, I put it on. It's so lovely to see and hear you speak. Thank you for your time. Love, Anu. Oh, thank you, Anu. Nice to hear from you. Who a need to? Who a need to? Who a need to? Oh, you spelt out your name phonetically for me. Oh, thank you so much. Who a need to? Who a need to? Thank you. Who a need to? That's so cool. Thank you. And I continuously apologize because I think that we should try to say each other's names right. But I am dyslexic. And so not only am I English, which English people are renowned for being really bad with other languages' names and not putting effort into it. So I apologize. I've not had that good conditioning of trying to learn people's names, but I'm dyslexic and it's really hard for me to read words and then work out how they're meant to sound. So I really appreciate that. Who I need to. Hi Lisa. You've been looking up auras and I've been looking into tarot readings on YouTube. Always a strong doubt if the person actually sees the truth or if they just believe. But I watch many different tarot readers, regardless of being true or not. At least it is a lot of fun. I even download an app and do readings myself. Oh, that's all. Thank you for the reading, Lisa. Okay. Yeah. Yet I look at energies of people. It's more than what they say. They could be saying really simplistic stuff that's not very interesting. And it's about their energy. Okay, question. Do you vouch for Mother Mira? She, I don't know who Mother Mira is. She live streams every day at the same time. She sits in silence for 1 hour. I do personally feel her in my head, so to speak. With you, I feel a lot of presence. With her, I get a very positive image in my mind. In interview, people said they just feel she knights their knots. She lives now. If you're interested, you have a 5-second look, something or not. Sorry, I never have something to write to you, but at the same time, I wanted to be acknowledged by the guru. Thanks for your time. Yeah, well, you messed up, who I need to, because I'm not a guru. So you've got to go somewhere else now. You've got to go and log into somebody else's stream. My goodness, I'm not a guru. Let's see what guru is. What's the actual definition in English? I know that was a joke of yours, by the way. Guru definition. Guru is a Sanskrit term of teacher, guide, expert, or master of certain knowledge. Okay, I could go with teacher and guide, expert, master. Yeah, teacher, guide, and expert. I could go with master. I'm like, that just, Master Jacobs is here to see you, sir. That's a bit too much for me. But expert is maybe a little weird, but I feel like I've talked about this stuff so much that on the human level, like I have got some expertise in speaking about this subject now. Teacher, guide. Okay. That really makes me like, the idea of someone calling me guru though. I'd never like to call my teachers gurus either. Okay. I'm not going to look at the video of her just yet. I might watch it later because I'm not even going to judge whether she's free or not anyway. Because firstly, I don't know. And anything that I say is just perspective and it doesn't really matter. Like every one of you is able to judge for yourself what resonates for you and what doesn't. And that's really beautiful. And that's what's important. It's not like, who are these other people? Like in this idea of people being free or not being free. So when I'm looking for this energy of teachers, like I don't care if they're free or not, or if they're enlightened or not. It's just I'm looking at their energy and how that makes me feel and my resonance with it. And screw the rest of the stuff. It's just for you. And you don't need me to clarify it or anyone to clarify it. Like there's many teachers out there that would be like to me, and there's teachers that would be like, yay, or liking, like supportive of me, and each to their own. And I just don't care. Even if a teacher doesn't like me and I like them and I resonate with them, I speak about them or put them on my website. I don't care anymore. At first, when I first started speaking, I did care a bit more, I think. Not like loads, but I think I expected to be accepted into this group of non-duality teachers or something, and like that we would all support each other. And then I realized that wasn't the case. Now though, I do belong to a women's group of non-duality teachers, which is really lovely. I really enjoy it. Yeah. But that really wasn't the case. I did really have an imagination. I remember, I've maybe told this last week, I forget. But I remember like this teacher wanted to speak to me that I knew of from England. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's great. Like we're going to speak and we're going to bliss out together. And then when they called up, they just called to tell me all the ways in which I was wrong or undeveloped. It was like a male teacher, and it was like very intellectual. I remember still being really blissed out speaking to them, but I remember being like, oh, that it was going to be like, yeah, love and hugs and sweetness. Yeah, and then they sent me their books in the post.
It's funny. My God, being a teacher is being a teaching, I can tell you. My God, what a humbling. Okay, moving on. Deepak. No, sorry, not Deepak. Derek. Derek. Sorry, that's a really easy English name. Sorry, Derek. How about fall in love with chaos as an antidote to resistance to what is or opening to the unknown? Yeah, that's really nice. To fall in love with chaos. So as always, the answer to everything is total acceptance. Total acceptance of what is happening. Letting in, like letting open those doors. Of yourself, of your partner, anything you're in resistance to. But that's not so much a human action. You can do it as a human action, and that I can imagine will be really helpful for you. But it's recognizing that part in you that's already doing that. So this consciousness now is embracing everything. It's open. So notice that there is consciousness of this wall behind. So you're looking and you're focusing on my face, but there's also consciousness of the wall, but you haven't labeled it, you haven't rejected it, you're not accepting it. It's just being held in consciousness. There's no rejection of it. There's not actually even acceptance of it, but by there being no rejection, it's almost like an acceptance. It's just no pushing away of it. With me, there might be push-pull, there might be wanting attention or pushing. My consciousness is rejecting nothing here. Everything that you've ever done is held here. It doesn't actually exist, but everything that's ever happened is held here. This is all that's important. Hi Tara, I'm so sorry to join late. I am glad I made it to hearing your voice and seeing you live. My question is, I'm not caring about stories anymore and people in my life. Think I'm not caring about them anymore. Any words of wisdom? It's just noticing where that not caring for stories comes from. There is consciousness doesn't care about the stories, and on the human level we can overinvest in stories because we believe there's freedom in that, and so when we let go of that, there can be less interest in stories or less interest in people's stories, but it also can become another defense, like another rejection. So it's just acknowledging that. Just paying deep attention to whatever's appearing. Thank you, Tara, for your question. Hi, Carmela. Thank you. Lots of love and gratitude. Thank you, Carmela. Miley. Hi, Miley. Hi, Lisa. Are there no others in reality? Just empty space, self-space. Thank you. Yeah, there are no others. It's the appearance of others, but there are no others. I have a runny nose and no tissue. But yeah, there are no others. So everything you think about me isn't me.
Everything you think about your friends, your family, isn't them. So then what's left if you stop thinking about them? So everything you know about others is your thoughts. So you're playing in your thoughts, which is okay, but that's not truth. It's not who they or who you are. Who they are and who you are is life itself, is love. It's this expression of oneness. This is absolute forgiveness. Thank you, Mali. Hey, Schumann. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for your introduction. If I heard you correctly, you are saying that I am not myself. My question is that I am worried about facing the challenges of these unusual times. The world economy will be destroyed for ordinary people, which is scary. There is also the spell it out, Lisa. Spectrum of mass vaccinations with little time to test for side effects. I don't know how I respond to this challenge without any form of escapism. Thanks, Schumann, for your question. May you have a nice blackbird. Oh no, it's not a blackbird, it's a minor bird. It's a minor bird? Yeah, it could be that there's going to be upheaval in society coming. And it's more important than ever to stay focused on what's happening. And I know you're English, Schumann, so you don't have to take the vaccination. I don't think they're saying that you have to take it. Yeah, I think there could be difficult times ahead for people, but that's not what's happening now. You have to deal with that when it comes. And when the fear comes or the control or the issues come, it's just feeling into that. Like there will be a way. And if life is to end for us, it is to end for us. As humans, as individuals. I think that is what's to happen. And if it is to end, like if we are to die, then if death isn't like what you imagine, like when you die, you're gonna, everything will begin to get further and further away. And as you begin to let go of everything of your life, then there is emerging back into that love that you've always been looking for. So in the end of the game isn't scary. And you can kind of find that death here, that love here. It's just saying very present. And just noticing the feelings. You don't need to avoid the feelings. You can let in the feeling. So if fear comes, then you can let it in. Seeing that it's not true. You can explore it a bit. You can see, okay, I see where that comes from, or I see where that comes from. But just staying with it, staying present. And not going off into the madness of the mind. But yeah, we really get it. There might be really hard times for people coming. Yeah. Thank you for your question, Schumann. Lots of love to you. Hi, Jonas. Hello, Lisa. Nice to see you again. Nice to see you. Thank you for your talks. I have a question coming right back from a workshop about the soul. Is there a soul at all? How to deal with inner rage as a male? I couldn't have a partnership because I fear this dark side within. So there's two different ways that we could use the word soul. You could use the word soul as beingness, as everything, like the soul of being. Or you could use soul as the karma of the body. But neither, it doesn't really matter. What is it that you're afraid of by the word soul? So what is it that you're the issue with that word? But I wouldn't use those words, because in English, soul means the bottom of your foot, or a fish that swims in the sea, and then also your soul will go to heaven or hell in Christianity. So it's kind of got many meanings that are quite deep for people, especially the soul on the bottom of the foot. So I tend to stay away from that. But tell me what your issue is with it. Like, what scares you around that word? How to deal with inner rage as a male. I couldn't have a partnership because I fear this dark side within. I think that you need to go to a male to ask this question, because I think that I can't relate to it from this life and this experience. Like, what I can relate to from myself, who had rage, was that my rage came from not asserting boundaries. So it came from overwhelm. So one habit that I can have, which I've talked about often, is if something scares me, I can freeze or please. So what that looks like is I can become pleasing to their wants. So if somebody's scaring, like I can please them. I can, make them a cup of tea, or like be nice to them, be really nice to them, or I can just freeze and not do anything. And I really try to break that. It also plays into over empathizing with people as well. And I really have tried to break that over the years. I still do it. But it's something I work on and try to be really conscious of. Because if I, like when I was younger, when I used to do it like all the time, it's like crossing my boundaries all the time for other people, because I couldn't say no and I didn't even know what my boundaries were. What it would do is it would build up. So then like once a month or something, normally around period time, I would just have like a breakdown. Like either if it wasn't rage, it would just be like crying hysterically for a day or something, or it would end up as rage at the other person. And I'm talking like full out, like emotional rage, like damn, like really like yelling at them. And I still do it now, actually. Not that side of it, really. I don't really act out in that way, but I still do it now. Like if I'm doing a retreat or if I'm leading something, at the end of the retreat, I can often have like just a big crying. So last retreat I thought this retreat was going to be easier because I shared it with someone else, but it wasn't. And then we drove away in the car and like this big anger came up in me, and then it like burst like out into like this crying. I don't think I really went for anyone or anything. Like I don't remember really what happened, but I remember like crying, like and crying my eyes out. And I think it's two things that happen to me. Is one, I'm really open energetically, so whoever's energy is around me, I absorb that energy. It's like I do this circular thing with people where I take their energy inside of me and then I give back out like this. And so sometimes when you've had like 25 people's energy on you, it's like really intense energetically. And then that's combined. So that's okay that happens. That's, I think, part of being a teacher. But it's combined with like sometimes being too giving and not saying no. Like for example, at retreats, I really shouldn't eat lunch with people, or dinner or breakfast or anything, because it's too much for me. But there's another part of me that really wants to give to people, like so, and then another part of me that
like struggles to reject somebody in the moment, like if they come and sit with me or something. And it's all to do with boundaries, and then it becomes overwhelming for my system, like doing all that talking and all that energy that I'm doing with people, of like circling my energy with their energy. And that's a lot. When I was younger though, that would end up as rage at my partner. Like I would be so pleasing to my partner or kind to my partner and accepting their stuff, and then eventually it would end up at rage at them. It also meant that I was kind of like an epicenter for like very controlling people or very dominant people, or like very strong personalities. Epicenter. But it's still something after all these years that I have to be really careful of to not do. And it basically, not putting up boundaries to me, I don't have the rage or that sort of thing at people anymore, but I have like this emotional breakdowns after retreats often, or if I've been in really intense family situations, then that, like with people, there can be like an emotional break that happens at some point. And I think it's one part of just being really open energetically, and then the other part is not saying no enough, like not walking away from people enough, like if they're suffering or if they're depressed or if they're having issues, and then it becoming overwhelming for my system. So what I'm trying to say by that is that I suspect that your rage comes from boundaries being crossed. I suspect a lot of people's rage comes from boundaries being crossed. It doesn't mean that your boundaries are fair or right, or your judgments are right, but it's like working out what you want and what you need and being able to establish that in the moment. It could also be like, so if it's not that, it could also be really controlling energy. So like a fear of not being in control of anything, which ends up in rage. But I can't relate to that. That wasn't my story. My story was my anger came from allowing people in too much, allowing energies in too much. So the other one could be like being really, and maybe this is more of a masculine one, not a male one, but more of a masculine one, of this controlling energy. Like, so looking at everything through the mind and through thoughts and things having to be a certain way. There's nothing wrong with controlling energy. It's just understanding it and understanding what you want and what you need from that, and seeing it's not the other person's fault, and that things don't have to be your way. But that's not really what you're looking for. So if you come into the house and you think that everything has to be in a certain area or in a certain place in the house, that's just your idea. That's not going to bring you that love and that peace that you're looking for. In many respects, it might bring you more discomfort the more that you give into that, because then the more that you have to control things. So, yeah. Those are my two different explanations. Thanks. Oh, you had more of that question. Where did you go, Jonas? Soul means the inner aspect of the inner experience of the human existence, the inner conditions, including the subconscious. Okay, so I would say karma. So I'd say that each body has a karma, but karma is always evolving and changing. So there's always the possibility to change it. Although it has a similar pattern, it is always evolving. Ooh. So now, this is for example, Jonas. So something happened in... It's so mysterious how it all happens. I really don't always understand it. But something just knocked me when we were communicating. It might not have anything to do with you. It might just be that I'm coming to the end of the stream and I'm getting tired. But something just knocked me, and a difficult energy just like pushed through me.
went through me. And there's different reasons that could be. It could be that, like, even through the internet, we're circling energies, and I'm circling some energies that are in you now. It could also be my energy. It could be like something I express that I'm tired and emotion coming up in me. It's hard to know. And whose is it anyway? But really, I should move on now, because otherwise I can't complete the talk. I'll get too tired from that. But I really appreciate your question, Jonas. I'm always unsure whether I should say these things, because I don't want people to like make this special, or to demonize people in any way, like you did something wrong, which is absolutely not what I'm doing. There was some sort of energy thing that happened between us. Yeah. It's like energy of stress. Is that something that you experience, Jonas? Energy of stress right now? It's like acid. Hey, Jason. Ah, you're a nice Yorkshire Terrier. That's sweet. Is it, if am I being rude if I always say you always look like your dog? Like you and your dog have a similarity to you. Maybe it's the colour of your beard and your dog's colour as well. Like all around his chin. I look like Khaleesi, I know. And I can see similar traits in us as well. Hi Lisa, I'm Jason. I'm new to your channel. Welcome, Jason. I'm new to your channel and I've just told you look like your dog. I would like to know how and when your journey began. How do you balance daily life and stay centered? I find work life includes mind, but in between I enjoy staying present. This had shed lots of negativity from my character. Thank you. Nice. Okay, I'll answer that in a moment. I just speak to Jonas. That energy passed now, Jonas. But just quickly go back and say, yes, there is a heaviness of experience of being human, being tired of it. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jonas, and thanks for putting yourself out there and for allowing me to say that. It's not a judgment of you. I could be absolutely wrong and absolutely mad. It's just what comes, and I'm just trying to be honest about what comes and what happens in my experience. I've hidden this a lot, like my energetic experience, from people, because I didn't want to make people feel bad, and or put me up on any pedestal or anything. But now I'm like, oh, screw it. Let's just talk about it. This happens to me all the time. And I'm still working out how to deal with it. Okay, so Jason. Yes. So how and when did your journey begin? My journey, I don't know, you'll hear me say different times when my journey began in different talks, but today I'm going to say that it began, I think, when I did a tantra exercise by accident when I was about 10, 11, 12 years old. I can't remember the age. And I would listen to music. I've told this so many times and it's very embarrassing, Jason. I used to listen to music. I'd put on my mum's headphones and I'd listen to romantic music, and then I would put pillows around me and imagining having a boyfriend or a girlfriend and somebody like loving me and me loving them. And then this, like, I would really imagine it in detail, like imagine what we'd do, where we'd go, what we'd say, and like this vibration of love would go all over my body. And then at some point, it's like the love would become so intense that I would stop imagining the boyfriend or the girlfriend, and then there would just be love appearing. And that, I think, profoundly affected me, because I realized from that I could be in love without having a boyfriend or girlfriend. So what the world was selling me was saying that you've got to have a boyfriend or girlfriend, and your life's got to look a certain way. I could have that without any of it happening, so I could just have that by myself. And that really affected me, that I could get, because that was my biggest desire, was to have that love. And then I realized I could get it without anything actually ever happening. And so I believe that was the beginning of my journey in what I can recognize in this life. But who knows, maybe we're set up in this life, for particular things, some for spiritual, some for ruling society, some for being peacekeepers. But yeah. And then that affected me, and I was more drawn to the arts and to theatre, partly because I was dyslexic, so I couldn't really read, so it was the only access to reading for me. And it was really profound reading all these plays. Like, if you really get into it, it's like a philosophical practice, because normally playwrights and philosophers are close together in society. So if you look back, like Shakespeare, you could also say is a philosopher, but also not. But many, I just can't think of them suddenly now. So many that were both. And I think that had a profound effect on me. Like, reading these plays really affected me. And being around really creative, open-minded people. And then when I was at university, I did a talk that was called Today. What was the name of the talk? Was inspired by my friend who I met at university, who got me into this subject, who got me to the first guru and got me to the first Buddhist center. So that was the first time, when I was my first year of university, when I was in contact with like spirituality. I had tried before that, but because of my reading problems, and it was really a bit prior to the internet, I remember going to the library and like I found a book on witches and stuff, but I couldn't really find the right stuff. And then she came along and blew open my mind, and that was about 20 years ago that I met her. Yeah, that's cool, isn't it, when you have long friends like that? My three most significant female friends in my life, so 2 that I knew from 11 and 1 that I met at university, all of them are into spirituality now. Not because of me. I would never dare do it. One, we used to live together in our 20s and we both were into it. And the one that I talked about from university, who was into it prior to I met, and then the third one has got into it through yoga. So it's really cool that happened. So how do you balance daily life and staying centered? I'm still working on that. It's our society currently is a society based on separation and lack of presence and seeking. And so we still have to make money and get our food from a society that's based on not trust, absence of presence, fear, anxiety, and stress. There's some great things to our society as well, but predominantly I would say that our society is a manifestation of seeking. I don't know how to fully adapt to that. I don't have the answers to that. I think it's trial and error. It's like trying to find the best ways to be working in an environment where you can be as genuine to yourself on the human level and being present as well. Yeah. So that would be my advice. I've found psychology. So since my awakening, I've found learning psychology quite helpful, ironically, because it's helped me gain better people skills and gain better understanding of where people are coming from or what they're up to. So I found that quite helpful, like learning about psychology. I don't think psychology is the answer. I think it's really heady and you get stuck in the loop of the story. But it's certainly helping me over the years with my work and with my interaction with people and understanding. But I think there's so much more going on. There's energy going on. So if you've got a boss that's really stressed, it's going to affect your energy field. That doesn't mean you run away from your work, because we're in this progression, like we're in this time where society is progressing. Like, it's not like you're easily going to find another work that doesn't have a boss that's stressed or something. Yeah, and it's trying to work and see what that does to you, and then seeing that that is part of you, your boss, and everybody else's feelings, and surrendering to that. Thank you, Jason. I'm not going to make it through all the questions. I just quickly say hello to people. Thanks, Schumann. Thank you. Hi, hello, Kinder. Hello, kids. Is that what you're trying to say? Hello, Kinder. So now I know you're German. I like your picture. I'm not a tarot reader. I don't know if I can read you, and you know how much of it would be like somebody else's energy. I mean, I could give it a shot just for fun's sake to see what happens, but maybe it's not somewhere we need to go. I'll think about it. Just let me say hello to other people. Hi, Jonas. I'm sorry that you get this heavy energy. Jonas, in no way is it your fault. Nobody is asked to come into this life with these energies. That these karmas are what's playing out. Like, I didn't ask for my karma. You didn't ask for your karma. It's in no way your fault. It's what's happening. It's as much my fault as it is yours. It's part of the dance of energies that happen between two people, and it's not my energies versus yours. That's just the way that we communicate. So there's absolutely no responsibility for you, Jonas. And this is why I feel reluctant to say these things, because it's interpreted in the wrong way. But I appreciate your apology and your attempt to take responsibility for it and where it's coming from. Hi, Paul. Inciter. I like that. Incenter. Epicenter. Inciter. Sorry, that's the dyslexic mind. I'm listening to your YouTube stream, but I'm a little behind. Thank you for streaming. I love your genuineness and spontaneity. Oh, thanks, Paul. Hi, Liz, could you tell something about the fear of making mistakes? I mean, why it's so difficult to take decisions sometimes? Too late to read my question. It's always nice to hear from you. Yeah, you can feel it in your body. It's basically to do with the solar plexus energy, and it's just the belief, so you'll have been taught this, that your happiness is based on what you choose. And they'll have been conditioned from your parents, so your parents might have had stress around that, and etc. Wow. Dane, thank you. Hi, Paul. I'm sorry, Paul. I can't take your question. Hi, Melissa. I'm sorry I can't take your question today, but feel free to send it next Sunday. I just say hello to you. Hey, Brian. Hi, Thomas. Yeah, sorry, Brian, I can't take your question. Hi. I got your email today, and I agree, I will do that, Brian. I'm on it. And I think this is from Jason. I'll just quickly read this because he was the person I last was answering to. Thank you, Lisa. It's comforting to know after 20 years it's still a work in progress. I try to center as much as I can between heavy days. I've become very
empathetic since discovering myself as an observer and not my mind. So absorbing people's energy is affecting me a lot. Have a lovely week. Yes, I look like my dog. We all do. It's always the way. Yeah. It's a mysterious thing between dog owners. You notice it when you go for a walk, and once you notice it, you can't stop noticing it. You're like, my dog is so snooty. Like I would love to say I'm not snooty, but maybe when I'm walking along, I do have this like prim and proper appearance. Like I was brought up in like half of my education was in private school, or I don't know how you call it in America, you know, when your parents pay for it. They wanted me to go to government school, but I kept failing because of my dyslexia, so they had to keep putting me back in paid for school. And so I maybe do have this. And she's so I think we really, and then I'm quite erect as well, and the way I hold things and still, it's funny. Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate you so much, and I really enjoy speaking with you, and I wish you a really beautiful week, and see you next Sunday. Goodbye.